Hi, it's Mike and welcome to this video on CSS and how to add CSS to your HTML. Basically, there's three ways. The first way, which I don't recommend, is inline. The second way for small applications, not large applications, is internal. But I really do recommend the external method of adding CSS to your HTML. So what does it look like? So inline first. Effectively, against every HTML element, you could write style equals, and then inverted commas, color, in this case, colon, the color itself, and then a semicolon closing with inverted commas. As you can imagine, if you've got a large website, you don't want to be doing that for every line and every HTML element. So that's a real old-fashioned way of doing things. You can still do it, but it's not good practice. Then there's the internal CSS. Okay, so this is internal to the HTML page or HTML file, and we write it within the head and closing head tags. We open it with a style and close it with a closing tag style tag. And then in between the style tags, there we write our CSS. Now I've put H1 all on one line, so I could just get it on the same slide, if you like. But as you'll see when I code it very shortly, I'll be using different lines for the different elements. But you'll be able to see that in a moment. And then finally, my recommended way is to use an external style sheet. And what we do, we don't write the CSS within the head element. Instead, we create a link to the style sheet that is within the folder structure, if you like, of our web application or website. So that's inline, internal, and external. Okay, so let's do some coding, shall we? Okay, on the left-hand side, you see my text editor as usual. I'm using Text Wrangler, and I do recommend at this early stage you use a basic text editor, just like Text Wrangler, so that when we make mistakes, we can see them easily, and so on and so forth. And when we get onto posh ones that sort of like can write some code for us, then I think that's just being lazy, and so on. So anyway. Text Wrangler, text editor on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, just here, I've got my Google Chrome browser, and you can see effectively I've got the HTML skeleton, which I mentioned in a previous video in my HTML section, and then within the body I've got an H1 tag saying add CSS to HTML. I've got an H2 tag, and then three paragraph tags, one saying inline CSS, the next one internal, and the next one external. That is not CSS there, that's just the heading, so you can see it in action in a moment. Okay, so all pretty straightforward. If you want to pause the video and then type that skeleton out, please feel free. So I'm first going to add inline CSS, and I'll do it to the H1 tag, and I'm going to go to the opening H1 tag, and after H1 within that opening tag, I'm going to hit space and type style. Then I'm going to type equals and inverted commas, and within the inverted commas I'm going to type color, it's a colon, and then let's go red, just to make it stand out on the screen. So this is a typical inline style or inline CSS. So style equals inverted commas, then the properties, in this case color red. I'm going to hit save, come over to the browser now and hit refresh, and yay, the H1 has turned to red. So that's pretty nice. So that's inline styles, and you do it within the opening tag of whatever you want to style. Let's have a look at internal styles now, and you can see within this head section At the top I've written a style opening tag and a style closing tag, and it's within here I'm going to write my code. So first I'm going to style let's go for the H2 element first. Okay, so in fact I'll do the H2 and then this P tag. So let's choose, I don't know, let's choose blue and green, blue for the heading. So within the style, I'm going to select the H2 element itself, like so, and open with curly brackets and close with curly brackets. And within those two curly brackets, I'm going to type in color. What did I say? Blue. So let's go blue for now. And I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to come across to the browser and hit refresh. As you can see, the H2 has turned blue, so that's nice. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to colour the second paragraph tag that has got an ID of internal. Now I spoke about IDs and classes in the previous video, so if you're unfamiliar with IDs and classes, please have a look at my introduction to CSS. So with an ID, I'm going to type hashtag and then the name of the ID. So I'm targeting the internal ID here. Go back up to the CSS, then it's curly brackets and close curly brackets. And in between, what did I say? We're going to go for color green. Oops, daisy. Color green and close with a semicolon. Okay, so let's hit save, and look, what we're looking for is here on the browser on the sort of right hand side. So I'm going to hit refresh, and there we see internal CSS has gone green. So that's nice. So let's just recap. With the H1, when we added red, we did an inline CSS. Now, for the H2 and the second of the paragraphs, we've added internal CSS, and it's internal to this one web page only. Okay, but you can imagine this is going to be a bit of a kerfuffle, especially if we've got a website maybe of 5, 10, 15 different pages, because on each page, on each HTML file, we're going to have all this code again. Well, how we get around that is with external style sheets. So within my text editor, I'm going to open a new file. So I'm going to click new, and I'm just going to save it for now, and I'm going to call it addme.css. Okay, and please follow through. I would just call it addme. You can call it whatever you like, but it's got to be within the folder structure that your original file is in. Okay, so at the moment it's blank. Now back to the HTML page. What I'm going to do, again, within the head section, but outside the style section. So within the head section, I'm going to create a link. It's rel style sheet. And then the link to it, the href, just like in an anchor tag, and I call it addme, and it's case sensitive .css. Oopsie daisy. .css. Okay, so let's just have a think about that. We're creating a link. It is a style sheet, and the file name is addme.css, and it is within the same folder as the skeleton HTML. Okay, so that's all well and good, but I'm just going to go to the CSS file now, and funnily enough, it's all blank. So what do we want to do? Well, let's go for this this third paragraph down here. We can see it's got an ID of external. Okay, so On the blank CSS now, I'm going to target the external ID on that HTML page, and in this instance, I'll do something different. I know we haven't spoken about colors yet, but what I'll do is give it a background color, just for a bit of a variety, of yellow. If I could type in public. So background color, yellow, semicolon, then closing with curly brackets. So I'm going to save my CSS file. Okay, so it's completely separate to this HTML file, but it is linked here. Okay, so I'm going to save, make sure that both files have been saved. Now I'm going to come over to the browser. Let's just get rid of the text editor, and I'm going to hit save, and fingers crossed, ta-da, there you go. You're always nervous when you're live on video that something is going to work. So what we have done are three things. Let's just recap, okay? So the H1, this one here, we used an inline style, not recommended, because you've got to do it on every line. There it is. Then what we did, using internal, we coloured the H2 heading blue and the second paragraph green. Okay, and here in the HTML file is the internal CSS. It's okay if you've got a very small application, but if you've got something big, you know, you don't want all the CSS everywhere. And there's a lovely phrase that I learned some time ago called the separation of concerns. That means the CSS external file is concerned with CSS only. The HTML file is concerned with HTML only. And I love that phrase, the separation of concerns, because really on an HTML file, all we have to do is create a link to the CSS file, which is in our folder structure somewhere. Okay, and really that's it. So I think what we could do is just go back to the learning objectives, which were to practice adding CSS to HTML. We've tried the inline, we've tried the external, and we've tried the external. So we'll be doing more of this as the videos go on. So anyway, I hope you understood that. It was, I think, relatively straightforward. So I'll see you in the next video. Cheers now.